In most legendary wine regions, places that are shaped over centuries, even millennia, being modern is usually a disadvantage. Old stone wineries dominate the landscape. The names are built on lineage, tradition, and centuries of uninterrupted history. So if you arrive late to the game, you're expected to stay in the shadows. And yet, every once in a while, a modern-day unicorn appears. A winery that doesn't just compete, it outperforms the giants. And today's story is exactly about that. A young winery standing confidently in what many consider the greatest red wine region in the world, Saint-Émilion. This is Château Le Dôme. Before we get to talk about Le Dôme's striking, futuristic architecture that instantly sets it apart, there's something far more surprising that truly cemented the winery's legacy. And it starts beneath the surface, deep in Saint-Émilion's rich clay and limestone soils. For centuries, this land was a part of a modest local vineyard known as Vieux Château Mazera, an uncelebrated parcel sitting quietly on one of the most privileged terroirs of Saint-Émilion, right next to legends like Château Angelus and Château Canon. Here, the soil is extraordinary, and the location is elite. And yet somehow, the winery itself had none of the fame of its neighbors. As a matter of fact, it barely registered on the wine world's radar. So much so that in the mid-1990s, the owners were forced to sell parts of the land. And that's where Le Dôme's story begins. It was the year of 1996. An English entrepreneur named Jonathan Maltus, with no Bordeaux lineage, no Chateau inheritance, no established reputation in the wine world, stepped in. He only had a vision and the willingness to bet on the land everyone else had overlooked. But almost immediately, his decision backfired. In Saint-Émilion, Merlot is the king. Most wines here are built around this grape variety, with blends often having 80, even 90% of Merlot, supported by a smaller amounts of Cabernet Franc or Cabernet Sauvignon. Maltus assumed he was buying a Merlot-dominant vineyard, but he was wrong. When he took a closer look at the 3.5-hectare plot acquired, he realized something shocking. Nearly 80% of the vineyard was Cabernet Franc, a grape that usually plays a supporting role, was now forced into the spotlight. It could have been a fatal mistake. Instead, it became the defining strength of Château Le Dôme. Cabernet Franc thrives in limestone. It ripens later than Merlot, it keeps acidity higher, and it exposes every shortcut a winemaker tries to hide. Jonathan Maltus didn't soften it. He didn't blend it away. He built the wine entirely around Cabernet Franc. With low yield, often less than 25 hectoliters per hectare, which is nearly a half of what's considered normal in Saint-Émilion. Every wine is worked by hand, and only fully mature grapes make it to the sorting tables. With slow fermentation and controlled extraction, there is no rush in the cellar. The wine is aged up to 18 months in 100% new French oak barrels, not to dominate the fruit, but to frame it. The wine is precise, linear, built for decades of pleasure. The wine of Le Dôme doesn't taste like a modern Bordeaux. It tastes like a vineyard, finally allowed to speak its own mind. And the ratings were there to prove it. In 2010, Château Le Dôme received a perfect 100% score by wine critics. To put that into perspective, out of tens of thousands of wines produced globally each year, only a microscopic fraction ever reach that number. 100% score doesn't mean excellent. It means a benchmark, a wine judged to be flawless within its style, with structure, balance, and depth to age for generations. For a winery barely a decade old at the time, with no classification safety net, no inherited prestige, this wasn't recognition. This was disruption. And Le Dôme repeated it. High 90 scores followed across vintages, cementing its place among the elite. Not because of history, but because of performance. And then once you shift to the winery itself, Le Dôme doesn't stop rebelling in a bottle. It does it in the concrete and steel as well. Designed by Norman Foster, the architect behind Reichstag Dome in Berlin and some of the most influential modern structures on Earth, the building was a challenge on its own. Saint-Émilion is not a simple place for building new wineries, or any other buildings, as a matter of fact. You see, Saint-Émilion is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here, no visual pollution is allowed. The buildings can only reach certain heights, so in most cases, multi-level floor buildings cannot be built. So Foster did the opposite. Instead of building upward, Le Dôme is drilled into the soil, with a circular structure digging deep into the limestone hillside to keep the profile low from the outside, but beneath, revealing a whole universe. Inside, Le Dôme is engineered around gravity. Grapes enter at the top level. From there, every step of winemaking flows downwards to avoid pumping, mechanical stress, and unnecessarily handling. Fermentation rooms are temperature stable by design thanks to the surrounding limestone. Humidity is naturally regulated with the airflow. Energy use is minimized without compromising precision. The barrel cellars sits deep underground, where temperature remains constant year-round. Ideal for long, slow aging. It feels like there's no excess space. Every room exists for a single reason: to protect the fruit purity. Even the circular layout serves function over form. It brings equal airflow, reliable structural stability, and efficient movement throughout the cellar. It's an absolute beauty of a winery. Château Le Dôme didn't inherit greatness. It didn't wait for classification upgrades, and it didn't play by Saint-Émilion's unspoken rules. It trusted the land, accepted the risk, and built everything, the wine and the winery, around absolute conviction. In a region obsessed with history, Le Dôme proves something we need more in Bordeaux. Preserve the history, but don't hide away from innovation. This episode was filmed whilst working for my client Entre Vides, a wine tour agency in Bordeaux. Tell us what other wineries you would like to see. Make sure to press the like button and subscribe for the future videos. See you in the next one.